before Monday night, right? Because I'll probably get back to you on Monday morning saying like this is okay, right? So yeah, you don't have to wait for me for anything besides the discussion post. The discussion post cannot be turned in after the original due date. So that is the first option, the extension, right? If you do not ask for an extension, or you ask for an extension after the past due date, you will still have 3 days, 72 hours to complete the assignment. The only difference is it's an automatic 10-point deduction, right? So if you got a 90, it's going to be an 80 now, right? If you do not ask for the extension ahead of time, right? So you still have those 3 days. It just comes with a point penalty. The only time where this stuff does not carry over is week 4. Because the week 4 deadline is going to be Sunday night, and literally, once it goes from Sunday night to Monday morning at midnight, you'll be beginning a new course, and this course ends, right? So there is no extra time for me to give you. The only exception, right, is if an extreme circumstance happens, right? Injury, sickness, power outage, natural disaster, right? Something that is extenuating, right? That is the only time I can allow an extension in the week 4. And just keep in mind, right, you're going to be finishing week 4 work, if you're approved, right? You're going to be finishing week 4 work in this course and possibly beginning a new course, right? And most likely beginning a new course that Monday morning. So my advice week 4 is just start working early, try to get it in as soon as possible to kind of, adjust for possible, stupid stuff coming up, because we all know life happens, right? Stupid stuff happens all the time, unfortunately. So
unfortunately,
that'd be my suggestion for that. But if something does happen, let me know as soon as possible in week 4 so we can work on something together. I think that's it. Are there any questions about the late policy at all? I think that is it. So I just want to reiterate, discussion posts cannot be extended, nor can late work be turned in. It is a 0 when it's not turned in by Wednesday. Okay. So every week I suggest you do that first.
Wednesday. Discussion posts on Wednesday.
All right. So let's get on to the agenda today.
Every week we're going to do
an agenda. So usually what we're going to do is review last week's concepts. But since, this is the first week, there's no last week concept to review. But we're going to save the assignment review for the last, right? We're going to go over all the assignments, and I'm going to go over the instructions, maybe give an example. And sometimes we'll even, answer questions and look at some questions together, so I know you have a good understanding of the material. We're going to come to this idea of what is communication very, very soon, though. So once again, keep that in mind. Keep thinking of, your examples, definitions of what is communication, because I'm going to test you, right? I'm going to grill you real quick. Just kidding. It's very low stakes. We're going to talk about the history of communication right
Good
after
afternoon.
We're talk about these things
How are you, Jonathan? How are you, Sakin? How are you, Naeem? We're in LAFS's first day of creative communications.
If you do have a question, feel free to raise your hand.
Y'all are going to come with me through the whole entire process, so till 2027.
So I've been asking, what is communication? I have questions.
Nice to see you.
Answers. What
shoot me some dough? No, I'm playing. I'm joking. I don't think that's allowed on YouTube.
But I need at least an answer, at least one, please. That'd be amazing. But if you all want to give an answer, that'd be wonderful. But so you can either put it in the chat box, or you can say it aloud.
Thank you.
It's a way of
I appreciate that.
Expressing your either verbal thoughts or ideas, information, or even written, verbal, nonverbal, written. It's just a way of expressing your feelings and ideas.
Leslie, first of all,
at the end of the video,
amazing. That was such a good answer. You're actually going to the next week's concepts. We're going to talk about verbal, nonverbal, and written. We're talking about that next week, Leslie. You already have
Go ahead, Leslie.
Very good answer. Yeah. So yeah, you touched on a lot of good things, right? You said using, first of all, verbal, nonverbal, written, right? You said expressing information that's super duper.
Well, then bye, motherfucker.
Yeah, really, really great job. So are there any more answers? If not, we can move on. But Leslie, that was amazing. I really appreciate it.
He said, is there any more answers? Is there any more
passing information, verbally, written, etc.? Yeah, exactly. So we're all touching this idea of information, right? That's important, right? Because when we're communicating, right, we're trying to get information out.
Hi,
that
Carlos.
Is our main goal, is to try to get the information out and have it understood, right?
And you close your life. How about that?
The just scientific definition I have written down. Keep in mind.
Okay, well, bye.
Super complicated. Communication is defined as a process of understanding and sharing meaning, right? And meaning is simply what you guys put with information, essentially, right? We're just sharing information, right? And it comes from this Latin term called communicare, which means to share.
Okay, bye.
Very good job, by the way.
Bye.
Very, very good job.
Talk to you later.
Communicare.
Hey, New Mexico. We're in Cali.
To share or to make comment, right? And when I look at the word communicare, I see two different things, right? I see the idea of
but I can't be getting into y'all. Y'all supposed to be remembering and helping me retain this information so that if I need some help,
right?
I don't fail.
The idea of like understanding them. You can't care about someone you don't understand, right?
Right. So if I don't understand, I can ask my followers, like, did y'all get this in the little stream?
You didn't start. Like, you didn't just walk up to them and be like, let's be best friends. Because even that's sharing information, first of all, right? But there was a process of coming to understand that person coming to understand you, right? And that's our communication, right? They need to know, who you are, what are your values, even like the idea of showing them you care about them involves like, you talking to them, right? And communicating with them, right?
Thank you.
And the better we're able to communicate, right? The better we're able to share the information, the closer we can become as a community.
Kimani
right?
Phillips, James Pilgrim, Leslie
family,
Nelson, Angelique Mercado, and Aaron Scott.
You're a community because you understand each other, right? For the most part, right? You misunderstand each other a lot. But you understand that you know who they are, right? You communicate, and you are able to grow closer because of that
Thank you.
Right? So very, very good job, both of you. Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it, right? The one important thing we need to remember, and this goes for me too, right, is the idea of communication being a two-way street, right? And so in order for effective communication to happen, there needs to be two roles. And this role
oh my God.
Switches throughout the communication interaction. But there is a speaker and there is a listener, right? You ever heard like the term, like, we have two ears because we need to listen like twice as much as we need to speak, right? I've never heard that, right? Because
I thought you was finna leave, motherfucker. I thought you exited out. So why is you even still talking? Go exit out. Exit out with your ass.
Be able to understand what people are saying to us, right? In order to exchange the information back to them, right? So if you ever had a conversation with someone and they're just like kind of not listening to you, they're just waiting for their chance to speak, they're not really understanding, they're not trying to understand what you're saying, right? That's not good communication, right? That is not effective communication, right? Communication can only be effective if we're...
There we go, Carlos. You feel me? I'm with Carlos.
And actually speak back in a coherent way, right? So it's important that we understand that listening is just...
Well, then bye.
If not more important than actually speaking.
Talk to you later.
Right? But wonderful job. I appreciate both of you.
Okay, communication history, y'all.
So let's talk about like a very, very, very small timeline of communication history, right? And how we got to the point where we are today.
I don't get it.
I want you to kind of take a second to realize, right? We are all in very different parts of the world, right? Very different parts of the world, but we're all together speaking through a laptop screen, right? And communicating, right? That just blows my mind sometimes, right? Because we come from a point where, like, back in the day where, like, people weren't even speaking. Like, they were using grunts and, hand gestures to get information out there, right? But now we're able to more seamlessly communicate at a moment's notice, right? So there's always been a need for communication for humans, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, then just close your phone.
What I just said about before we were speaking, right? Before we were speaking like a language, right? We had to communicate. Think of like we're all in a tribe, right? We're all in a tribe.
Say if we're all in a tribe. And that's how you're going to talk to me? Close my live? Like, no. What if somebody needs to see this?
We're about to feast.
You would be one of those people that we would probably...
berries, right? And they look delicious. I grab a few, right? I taste them.
Yeah, don't make no bitch. Don't have no female control.
And immediately, I get so sick, right? So sick to the point where, like, I think I might not survive, right? I need to be able to communicate with you all, like, hey, do not eat those berries over there, right?
Do not let a bitch control your life.
And so
unless that bitch got some
find
good
a different way
pussy.
to
No, I'm just
communicate
I'm joking.
If I don't communicate that, right? Someone else would bring the berries back, right?
And then my tribe will eat them and we die.
Officially, like, we're extinct, right? Our tribe no longer exists, right? So even for survival purposes, we need to be able to communicate just very, very fundamental things, right? And so eventually we moved from, the written communication for things like hieroglyphics and like, like hand gestures, right? To more oral communication, right? That's just people evolved. And
never joke. I'm never joking. I'm always tripping.
Important that tribes, right, when they moved to oral communication, they would designate people, right, specifically in charge of orally communicating, right? And these things.
Okay, and then we just got. So okay, look, I just tried to hop into this Zoom right now, and I could not hop in, but everybody else is just hopping in right now. Like that is crazy to me. That is so
in the
funny.
tribe, right? They carry a lot of knowledge because they're usually older, right? They've seen a lot of things,
I'm not
right?
That's okay.
When people would, gather around like the campfire or like, in the village, right? The bards would tell stories essentially. They were storytellers. And a lot of
What's up? We got UK up in the house. I wonder if I could do my latest UK accent. Is this a good accent tonight? Not even close, huh?
Right?
It's not even close how they talk in the UK. They do not talk like this in the UK, eh?
No. USBs and computers and even like pen and paper, right? I'm not gonna say before pen and paper, right? But it wasn't easily accessible, right? So point is, if they weren't telling this information, right? If they weren't giving you this information orally, the information would die with them, right? If something happened to the bard, they didn't tell us something, the information would die, right? And so it's important that we communicate, right? There's more modern examples, right? So how
many times a day I get a freaking call like that?
102 years old, right? And unfortunately, she's starting to like kind of lose her wits a little bit.
Okay, Australian, a little bit, okay.
Even,
that's the first place I gotta go. I want to go to Australia for
30
sure.
years ago.
Australia's lit. In Amsterdam. I wonder how they sound in Amsterdam.
In Miami.
Thank you.
We would gather around her because she had like
the
grandfather chair, right? Like like the grandparents have like their own like special chairs in the house that like no one's allowed to sit in, right?
Right.
So she had her own chair that we were
gonna,
never allowed to touch, right? Only she would sit in. Keep in mind, my great aunt lives in the house. One bedroom, one bathroom.
Hello,
right? So
Alexander.
20 of us in there, right? Cousins, aunts, uncles.
Did I say that right?
Mothers, fathers, even
I can't.
my
I'm supposed to be studying.
For about 20 years, right? And so she would sit in the grandfather chair, and we'd all gather around her. And I remember too, she used to keep like the little strawberry candies. The kids would like the little strawberry candies and like these little eggs we would like play with, right? And she would just tell us stories. She would just tell us stories. And keep in mind, we're a family that does not have a lot of documented like information about like
Amen.
History, right? So that's information she had to pass along to us because otherwise that information would just cease to exist, right? And it's a good thing she passed along because like I said, she's not very cerebral right now, unfortunately. But she passed information to us and now the information leaves on, right? And that's the importance of communication, right? If you don't say something, right, it doesn't exist.
If you don't say it, it ain't here.
You have to put it out there in the world in order for it to be known, right? And so I'm very thankful she did because we were able to retain a lot of our family history and just a lot of knowledge from someone's 102 years old, right?
That is crazy. I be feeling like somebody pissed somebody. I be feeling like if you live to that old, you pissed God off. God's like, I don't want you to come back. Stay your ass.
Otherwise,
if you're like 103, I'd be like, ooh, you did something wrong in your life. Like,
we are at a point now where
that's how I be feeling like, ooh, you pissed God off.
You might see reflected on the
He usually want to call him home. He wants to call his home. So if you live to 101, they say the good die young. Right? I don't think they make that up.
Whenever we get to something that might be on the homework. So wink, wink.
I'm Triple C. I'm Sierra.
We're talk about
Mr. Aaron.
The communication history of mass media, right? And before we get into that, let's talk about the definition of mass media.
Mass media.
Wink, wink.
Ooh, I need
mass media.
This is a question.
Mass media is the means of communication that reaches a large number of people in a short amount of time. And I'll usually repeat it, right? Mass media is the means of communication that reaches a large number of people in a short amount of time, right? And keep in mind that's relative. You're going to see that as we kind of go through the next stages here. We're going to go through each stage of mass media, right? So the first stage is the relative. You're going to see that. I didn't get what he said. The next stages here. We're going to go through each stage of mass media, right? So the first stage is the pre-industrial age, right? Wink, wink, the pre-industrial age. With the pre-industrial age, we get something called the Gutenberg press, more simply known as the printing press, right? And with the printing press, it allowed for a few things, right? The printing press essentially was just like, you're going to think about like a very large printer, right? And
am I of age? Nigga, I'm 30. Stop playing with me. That was cute. That was cute.
About how important oral communication is, right? However, how many times have you told somebody something, right? And you gave them the information straight. They tell someone else. They tell someone else.
Like telephone, and
the
it was
information
wrong.
Gets back to you. The story has completely changed,
right?
That's just it just happens, right? It's like the game of telephone. You tell somebody the car is red. They tell the next person the car is blue. That they tell a person the airplane was blue. The next person says the airplane is green, right? It just, the information changes. There's no definite container of that information, right? There's no documented source of information that says the car is red, right? Until
you're always a kid. God says stay kid-like. So now forever, and that's what I do. I stay kid-like forever, and I'm gonna stay kid-like forever.
Right, that says the car is red, and you all can pax amongst yourself, right? And no matter what, unless it's the document's forged or someone messes with it, the car will remain red, right? Based on that information. So now information is just a little bit more.
Somebody just clicked about the
reliable.
Out the Zoom. That distracted the teacher a little bit. The teacher was like,
huh? Because now I can, distribute it out to people, right? The people printing out books back then, right? You're able to give books out, and people are able to retain that information, right? They're able to
practice. I wonder how much you had to charge,
really understand it, right?
To get a book
and right, since there are books, more people became literate, right? Now people can learn to read, and with that, they're learning to read. They're able to access more information and gain more knowledge, right? So now people are learning, becoming more educated, right? So the Gutenberg press in the pre-industrial age was huge, right, for the foundation of communication, right? And it set the stage for a lot of things we see today, right? Then we move into the industrial age. Wink, wink. The industrial age gives us another huge invention. This one was the telegraph, right? And so with the telegraph, we're able to communicate now internationally, right? And so with the pre-industrial age and the
no, that was mail. Telegraph would be mail, right? Or no?
By handing stuff out and giving documents to people.
Yeah, the mail. So then we created the mail in the industrial age. So pre-industrial age, we made the printing press. Industrial age, we made the mail. Telegraph.
Your immediate vicinity, right? If they're not visible, or you can't walk to their house or wherever they are. It's really hard to communicate with them, right? Could take months, even by boat. You can go by boat, right? But it'll take forever. You can ride a horse.
Got to give this document to somebody.
Days, months.
Here's your document.
But with the
sign here. That's FedEx.
Now we're able to communicate almost instantly, right, with people who aren't in our immediate vicinity, right? So from America to Australia, you can't.
Oh, we were just talking about
Australia. Tap the telegraph, right, and it's, it goes in Morse code, but people are able to communicate. When they're not in the immediate area, right? So that's absolutely huge.
When did Morse code
Beyond that, we get two other things. We get the radio and the cinema, right? And so those are things that kind of help.
Radio and then cinema. It's all from the industrial age,
right?
Really?
So with the pre-industrial age, we get the printing press. We're able to read documents, and we're able to kind of imagine the things we're reading, right? But with radio and cinema in the industrial age, now we're able to see it, right? Now we're able to hear these stories, right? So it becomes a little bit more immersive, right? Then, wink, wink, is the electronic age.
Wink, wink, y'all heard that.
The electronic age, we get a little bit more advanced from the industrial age. So it kind of builds on those things. So now we get FM radio. Now we get color television, right? Now we get, portable media. Now we get, CD players, tape players, Walkman, thing like that, right? Just makes it a little bit more portable, and a little more convenient, right?
Yeah.
And we also get something huge, right? Something that forever changes human existence.
Television.
We get the computer, right? And it's Microsoft and Apple, right? And what's going to build on that is the new media 20.
I'm listening to class. Shut up.
That's the one we're in right now. And so,
I'm in school. We get the y'all about to tell me, and if you don't want to help, get the fuck off. Bye.
The computer, right?
Bye.
And so with the new media 21st century era.
And no, motherfucker, are you C6? No, I'm not. Goodbye.
Radio, things
y'all
that
are distracting
make it even easier to communicate, right? And so that's why I said that mass media, a large number, is relative, because back in the pre-industrial age, right, a large number of people could be anywhere from 20 to a few hundred people, right? But in the new media 21st century era with social media, right, if we're able to communicate correctly and work with algorithms and everything, we can potentially communicate with millions of people, right, in a matter of minutes, hours, and days, right?
Let me stop.
So that's why I said it's relative, right? And it's also relative to what you're doing, right? But the point is, we've gone from, physically handing out documents to communicate, right, to being able to press a few buttons and tweet and be seen by thousands of people instantly, right?
How though? Who made this shit
up?
And
keep in mind, the printing press, you don't need to know this, but the printing press was invented 1455, right?
Right.
But a lot of this, right, especially in the industrial age, the new media 21st century, was just almost the last 100 years, right? So communication has rapidly evolved to the point where we're
No, you're not. Don't call yourself retarded.
A laptop right now, right? We're on a laptop or a phone, whatever, and we are communicating instantly. There's no lag in between our words even, right? We're able to communicate instantly. You're able to see my face, right?
Facts. That is pretty cool. Shout out to the gods for that.
We have communication these days, right? How easy it is for us to communicate. Are there any questions so far?
Do we know how? What was the most, like, what was so imperative about these creations or these, like, inventions coming out? Like, was there certain things that we developed? Like, was there, we found out that gold could be placed in these things and, like, I want to know that. So I'm going to ask that. Like, what was the underlying factor on how these things were created? Like, what made them come about? Did they know what they were creating, or was it something that they wanted to create already, or was it something that just came about like, oh my God, this one is too? Like, did that happen like that? That's all I'm curious about.
If our goal,
all right, four building blocks.
Back to the beginning. If our goal of communication,
four building blocks of communication,
right? We want to do it the best way possible.
We are talking about creative communication in music, in the science of music.
But the information is not effectively passed along, right?
So what are the four building blocks of communication? Is what we're learning now.
Where we are, these four building blocks, the more chances we have of our communication being actually understood, right? The information we're giving.
Who, what, when, where, and why, basically.
That is the goal, to be understood, right? All right, so the first building block is the idea of people, right? And I cannot tell you how important the people building block is. Wink, wink. So the people building block is your target audience. I can't tell you how important that is, right? You always need to structure your communication around the person or the people you are talking to, right? Think about the ways you talk to your mother, even in your own family, right? The way you talk to your mother, your brothers and sisters, or your cousins, your grandma, right? Even those aren't the same, right? Even though you're talking to your family, even those are the same. So it's gonna differ even more when you're talking to, between your mom, your boss, your friend, right? For example, let's say I need money, right? Let's say I hit bad times, right? I need money. Just need $1.
Just need $1, nigga.
The way I ask my friend and the way I ask my mom should be completely different, right? So if my goal is to be understood and to receive that $1, right, I need to do it in a way that will convince the person I'm talking to, the people I'm talking to, right? So to give you an example, my mom. The context of my mom, right? My mom, I've known her my whole life, literally my whole life. Very good relationship with my mother. I love her, right? But she's still like kind of my superior, right? She's still my superior and I show her respect.
Right.
And she expects that respect, right? So to ask my mom, I would say, hey, Mom, I love you. Can I please, right? Please is essential. Can I please borrow $1, right?
Please. Borrow, though.
Best chance, or even me.
I didn't ask to be here. Can you give me $1? Mama.
For my friend, I don't really need all that, right? I might say, hey, let me get $1. Right? Very, very simple.
Remember that $1 I let you hold last week? Let me get it back.
Communication, I say, hey, Mom, let me get $1, right? Not only am I not getting $1, right? But if I'm in her vicinity, she might choke me, right? She might choke me. She's definitely going to yell at me, right? If I ask my friend, right, I'm just like, hey, I love you. May I please have $1? I mean, I guess depending on like your relationship with your friend, my friends would think that's weird. They'll be like, just you can have $1. Like, it's not that serious, right? So do you understand the point here? The point is you need to center your communication depending on who you're talking to, right? Like everybody loves when I talk about my mom choking me. That's always a big hit. But yeah, so every time we talk to someone, right, we need to think about who is this person and
no, but I need to be good.
This information is understood, right? Going back to that idea of communication with information, that this information is understood and it's accepted, right? And even this lecture, right? Think about this lecture. This lecture is designed for people, with higher intellect, right? They can understand these, higher concepts, right? As opposed to like kindergartners, right? So if I gave this lecture to kindergartners, right? They're gonna say it's boring, right? I'm gonna lose their attention. They're gonna say I'm a terrible teacher, even though the information I'm giving is good information, right? It's not for them, right? It's not for them. It's not designed for them. They're not gonna like it, right? And if someone were to come in and use Legos, right, and dumb this information down a lot, right? They're going to say not only that did they enjoy it more, not only are they going to say they enjoyed it more. Sorry, I cannot get the word out. Not only are they going to say that they enjoyed it more, right? But they're going to say I'm a horrible teacher and they are way better teacher than I am, right? because it's not designed, this is not designed for them, right? This is designed for you all, right? Versus if I come in like, using Legos and funny voices, you all are gonna be pissed, right? You all are gonna be so mad. You probably can complain about me saying like, this is not what you paid for. Like, my point is here, right? You have to know who you're communicating with. You have to think of the best ways to communicate to them, right? For mothers, right? You have to maybe be a little more respectful, right? For people younger, like, children, toddlers, right? Maybe we use funny voices and Legos, right? For friends, we can be a little more casual, right? So you got to think about who is the audience I'm talking to and how do I best reach them, right? Because you can craft the perfect message, right? You can spend months to even years getting the message right. But if you're delivering it to the wrong audience, it will not matter. They're not going to care. They're not going to be able to understand it, right? So you're just wasting your time, right? You need to know who you're talking to and find the best way to communicate with them, right? People building block is so, so important. I can't even begin to describe it. Know who you're talking to and think of the best way you can reach them, right? The next is the message. Wink, wink. Let me move this. The next is the message, right?
Move this. Really
the message is, like we discussed before, that information. You all described like communication as information that is being, expressed, right? So that's what the message is. The message is the information, right? What is being said? And with the message comes this idea of the medium, right? And that's basically like how are you communicating?
Are you gonna sing it? Are you gonna
message,
rap
right?
it? Are we gonna talk it?
So
Are you gonna read
to
it?
break this down, if I send my mom a text saying I love you, right? The message is I love you. The medium would be
Text.
text message, right? The medium would be text message. If I called her and said I love you, once again, the message is I love you. The medium is now cell phone. So the message is what you're saying. The medium is how you are
delivering
saying it, right? What are you using to send that message?
In art, it would be
phone,
like paint,
email, face to face, right? Keep in mind, face to face
like paint, markers,
really great in a lot of cases because that allows for the least amount of confusion.
I got you, good. I got you.
For example, right, if how many times you sent a message to someone and they completely misunderstood your tone, right? And maybe they got offended or upset or they didn't like get your joke, maybe you were joking, they couldn't sense that in your tone. So a lot of times, face to face is a lot, especially for something serious, right? Face to face is the best way to deliver a message, right? That's the best medium to use. But it's not always, that's not always the case, right? But point is, we need to also think about the medium, right? So for example, my mom, again, I'm gonna keep talking about my mom because I love my mom, right? If I were to send her, I love you, same message, right? If I send her, I love you, through text message, she might say, I love you back, if I send it through email, right? She is gonna probably freak out.
Like, what's going on?
Because that's not a medium I've used before, and it's like a really weird medium to just send out to say I love you to someone.
That was a really good.
So she's gonna probably call me instantly and be like, are you okay? Did you get kidnapped? Like, why are you sending me an email saying I love you?
That went over y'all head.
So the message is the same, right? But you see how her reaction is different based on the medium, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that she's used to, right? It's not really what email is typically used for, right? So we need to be aware of what we're saying, right? But also how we are saying it, right? If I want the best chance of getting that dollar from my mom, even, right? I'm gonna, have a nice message and I'm gonna sweet talk her and tell her I love her and I appreciate her, right? But I'm probably either gonna do it face to face or I'm probably gonna do it over the phone or over video call so you can hear my voice because I know that is the way my mom prefers to be communicated with, right? So
fire up with your girl though.
Yeah. There's the idea of the medium, right? Which is how we deliver the message, and the message is what are we actually saying? What are we actually communicating? So keep that in mind. All right, next is context, right? And so what context is, wink, wink, context is essentially the situation going on while you communicate, right? So, the timing of it, the environment, the location, right? So for example, if you want to have, let's say you and your friend have been bickering, right? And, you want to have a heart-to-heart with them and solve the issue. So you probably wouldn't do that at a rock concert, right? Because that context is all weird. It's loud, right? There's people bumping into you, right? It's hard to talk and hear things, right? So that's going to affect the way your conversation goes, right? You're not going to be able to understand what the person is saying to you, right? It's like a really energetic place. So it's not like the time to have a heart-to-heart and really spill your feelings, right? Versus, right, the context of your living room, right? Even in the sense of you feel safe in your living room, right? You feel comfortable, right? It's quiet, right? You have space to kind of operate and to talk and to really, flesh things out, right? Even something as simple as being sick, right? that can affect the way you communicate. That context of being sick, sorry, that's weird, will affect the way you communicate, right? If you don't feel good, right, you have less patience, right? You have less energy to focus on what someone is saying, right? So if someone's trying to tell you like a joke, right? On a normal day, you might think it's hilarious, right? But when you don't feel good, you don't have the energy to kind of engage in that, right? Your nose is running, your head hurts, right? You might not even have the ability to sit and listen to someone even like tell the joke, right? Even if it's hot outside,
You're
right?
a bad influence,
If it's
bro.
hot outside, you might be talking to someone. You have like once again less patience because you're focusing on the heat, but you're uncomfortable, right? You just got into a car accident. Do we have questions here? I'm sorry. Sorry, that question. You just got into a car accident, right? That's not a time where you can have a lot of like patience or like have a casual conversation. You're worried about other things, right? So context is everything that's going on around you that might affect the way you communicate, right? On a normal day, right? You tell your friend, "Oh, that shirt is so ugly. Why'd you wear that?" They're absolutely fine with that. They think it's hilarious. "Oh, I love this shirt. Don't leave me alone," right? They're playing with you. On a day where they just got fired, right? The context is way more serious. It's different, right? They're not going to respond the same way. It's going to affect the way they communicate back with you. They might go off on you, right? They might cry, right? So context is just thinking about like, is this the right time, right? Is this the right location? Is this the right place? Is this the right situation for me to deliver this information and have a talk, right? Even something as simple as like, you just had a fight with your friend, right? Maybe you don't want to say something that might re-spark that fight. Maybe it's not the right time. You got to give it more time before you can joke around about something, right? And I'll tell you this, I am the worst at this, right? Because in 10 situations, I like to joke around, right? And I'm trying to work on this.
I have like a
now I'm telling myself, maybe not enough time has passed yet. Let me give it a little bit more time and then I can let this joke off, right? So yeah, that's the context. Is this the right time, place, situation for me to express this information, right? Or can it wait? Would it be better received at another time?
Listening.
All right. Lastly is listening.
The worst thing.
And so
I have the biggest
I like to
problem with
say that there's a difference between listening and hearing, right?
Definitely.
Wink, wink, right? Hearing is a sense, right? We hear things all the time. If we all just remain quiet for a second, right?
I think, and then what's so endless.
Hear what's going on around us. I can hear my air conditioning, right?
Hearing.
I can hear my cat licking herself in the background.
Is the understanding is like the conceptualizing of this conceptualizing the hearing.
I hear some random creaks in my house that are starting to concern me, and I will investigate with what it is after the session's over. But point is, with hearing, we've been hearing these things the whole time pretty much, right? Hearing is just stuff hitting the eardrum, but we've been drowning it out, right? We've been kind of focused on other things, so it hasn't really caught our attention, right? That's the difference between hearing and listening. Listening is taking what you're hearing, right? And actually thinking about it, right? Applying meaning to it, finding ways to respond to it, right? Actually being active and understanding what is being said to you, right? And you can tell the difference between someone hearing you and listening to you all the time, right? Hearing just means, they're there, like the words are like, going into their ears, right? And, even though they might not be responding to you, they can hear you, right? Listening is actually being active in the conversation, right? Actively participating and communicating, listening what the person is saying, right? Even think about it, applying feeling to it. How does that make you feel, right? That is listening. It's taking hearing to the next level and actually being present and think about it and processing it, right? So we want to listen, right? We don't want to just hear when people are talking to us. We want to listen, right? And it's super duper important because if you aren't listening, right, you're not gonna be able to respond appropriately, right? If I'm telling you, all the answers to, there's no exams in this class, right? All the answers to the exam in this class, right? And you're not listening, right? You're not going to know how to respond to the exam, right? So that goes for anything. If I'm telling you the secret to life and you're not listening, right? You're not going to pick that information up. You're not going to absorb that information, right? Not to say you always have to be listening. I'm not going to say you always have to be listening. Sometimes information is not that important, right? But you need to be able to think, should I be listening, right? Is this information important, right? Important, right? Do I need to actually like actively engage in here, right? And that's the times where we need to actively listen and be engaged in the conversation and communication. All right, I want you to think about this because I would like a few answers to this, right? You can either put it in the chat box, you can say it out loud, right? So I'm gonna read this and then I'll kind of break it down a little more. Designing a presentation without an audience in mind is like writing a love letter and addressing it to whom you may concern, right? So keep that in mind, but now I'm gonna paint a picture for you. So you
Designing
get
a
home,
presentation
right,
without an
after
audience in
a
mind
day
is
at
like writing a
work
love letter addressing
or,
who, to whom
school
it may
or
concern.
whatever, right? You get home, you go down to your mailbox, you open the mailbox, you're looking through it, bill, junk, bill, and then this one letter pops up, right? It's a bright blue envelope. It's sealed with a heart sticker, right? Smells amazing, right? Cologne, perfume, whole 9 yards, right? Open it up. There's confetti and sparkles, right? You pull out the letter. It's just this really, really, high quality paper. The handwriting is gorgeous, right? The handwriting is beautiful. You start reading it. It says, you are wonderful. You are the inspiration of my life. I can't live without you. You have to be mine, right? So you read all that, and then you go to the top of it. It says, to whom it may concern. How do you feel now after that whole thing and after reading to whom it may concern? How does that make you feel?
Like
and
this
once
was
again,
a
put in the
fucking
chat
ad.
box to say it out loud. Either way works.
I feel like I got played and they want to sell me something. I feel like, oh, this isn't for me. What the heck? I feel like, cap, throw it away, bill, something. Like, to whom it may concern. No. There's no personal connection. I didn't feel no personal type of...
No one's going to answer. I would feel like...
Fuck, this is an ad.
This wasn't addressed to me.
Right, this is an ad.
This is just someone trying to get to know you, or...
This is an ad. They want to sell me something.
It wasn't personal. It wasn't for me.
Exactly.
All that for whomever...
To whom it may concern.
Get
the fuck out of here.
Exactly, right?
Thought this was going to be from... No, I'm like...
Beautiful, Leslie, I appreciate that. Exactly, right? So even though, like, the letter itself was beautiful, right? They took perfect time with the handwriting. Smells great, right? The letter
in music,
itself, the message
I feel like what they're trying to
right?
say is like,
even with
you gotta
all
really
that,
tap
I can
into
say something on that, too.
who you're trying to tell
please.
this message to. Like, is it for brokenhearted?
I mean, for me personally, I see it two ways.
Please.
I don't think like every message or everything needs to be directed at someone. For instance, something that I started doing, I started like handing out notes to people, like kind notes or whatever, and I just walk away, and I got someone found me and messaged me, and they were like, "Oh, thank you for that. I needed that day," and I had no connection towards them whatsoever. But on the other hand, I still do see the purpose. Like, it's obviously if you know someone and
sometimes the message is so deep. What I think he's saying is sometimes the message is so deep that whoever it was for doesn't even matter. I was able to relate.
Mean something more because they have a connection with you.
Nigga, I am a
baddie. I still think it's powerful to just leave things anonymously, because it's just like a lot of people will say higher power, higher this, higher that, whatever the case is, and whatever they were praying about, whatever that could have been it for them.
Big tough.
So I just see it two different ways.
Big tough.
I think it's a very, very fair point.
See my muscles,
I always say that every
don't come to the gun show, bro.
needs a specific audience. I think you actually found a situation where
I really won't smoke
it's pretty general, right?
First calm down. Calm down. You talking shit, I'm gonna talk it back. That's all I'm saying.
Right?
I might get a little personal.
I would say in that case, it didn't
my context
seem like
might be out.
Like, that seemed pretty general, right? Like, pretty much anybody who you saw, was...
Are you talking about not tough, but you got to
directed these notes in this piece of communication, right? Only way I would challenge that, right?
Look, you're distracting me. Get off my chat.
Said, but you would leave a love letter without saying who you are. Yeah. So only reason I would challenge that, I would say, is the intention, right? The intention of the communication, right? So in this specific case, with designing a presentation, with the writing love letter, you are trying to capture the attention of a specific person, right? Specific person. Whereas your name Kaimani, is that how I pronounce it? I'm sorry, just want to make sure. Kamani?
It's Kamani, yeah.
Kimani, yeah. So for you, right,
what up, Kimani?
You don't have a specific person in mind, right? You're trying to make the average person that you come across feel appreciated, which I absolutely love, right? So I would say that's the only difference. Is like you don't necessarily have to have a target audience in that sense, because you're not vying for one person or trying to get that one person. In this case, with the letter, right, you're trying to get that one person, and because it's not specified and because it's not addressed to a specific person, in that sense, it makes you feel like anybody, whereas your audience was literally anybody. But I think that's a very, very good point, actually.
It was very good intent.
I would say, in this case, that 99.99% of the time, you need to have a specific audience. But Kamani pointed out a really good point where you don't necessarily need a specific audience, right?
Okay.
But yeah, to pick
okay.
up on what
Yeah,
Leslie said,
60-year-old my ass.
Angelique, please let me know if I said that wrong.
And what are you?
Angelique says, I would feel as if it was
Mad.
not meant for me, but meant for
bitter.
anyone who responds.
Okay, well, let me look like that. Let me look like
and I
that.
think
Let me
that's
look
the
like that,
the
and that's
general
fine.
idea here, right?
It's fine. I'll be 60 one day. Shoot, I'll get there. If I look like that
you
now,
need
then
to
hey,
make the
I'm no rush, right?
Oh, sorry, wink for all this, by the way. You need to make the person or the people you're talking to feel special, right? Otherwise, if you almost feel like cheap, like, is this for me? Like,
God willing, because God was like, that's if I let you see.
You almost feel you're confused, like, literally, was this for me? Like, it invalidates so
what is it?
20-year-old
20-year-old dressing or 60-year-old dressing? You tell me.
That's
I'm
what
confused.
even matters anymore. Like, you might have been swooned over the hills, right?
Bet you I get more dick than this ignorance.
Oh my gosh, right? It went straight to your brain, right?
Look, you're distracting me. I can't fuck with you.
It's all invalidated. It's all like kind of canceled almost, right? Since there is not like your name on it, right? And this is how we need to think about like communication as a whole, right? When we're talking to a specific audience, we need to make them know that we're talking about their audience, this audience, right? And so, like I said, talking to my mom, even asking her for money, right? I'm gonna lean into the fact that she's my mother. I'm gonna tell like, I love her and I appreciate her. I might even like lean back into the idea of like, when she used to raise me and we have like specific bonds together, right?
So really personalizing.
I don't want to ramble, but just a few weeks ago, I was making her mad because when I grew up, there was a place called Wanna-Do City. And like all the kids went there. It was like a place where you go and you can pretty much do like any job you wanted to, right? There's like little stations and everything. And I was I was making fun of my mom and saying like, she's a bad mom for not taking me. I messed.
You never heard of?
But she was like
that one saying, if you don't have nothing nice, don't say it at all. Because it's gonna come back to you. So I'm not even tripping. So whatever you say to me is gonna come back to you. So I wonder what you look like behind your screen, baby.
And so that's something.
That's all I'm gonna say. You got a big bad opinion. I wonder what you look like. You probably
skip school together.
Never mind. I'm gonna
take me to work and I'd hang around the office, right? And so my point is, right, my mom is my audience in that case, right? That piece of messaging is specific for my mom. I can't use it on my brother. I can't use it on my friends. I can't use it on my boss, right? That's specific to my mom, but it's gonna work, right? It's gonna work because I know my mom, right? And I'm making her feel special. That's a term of endearment,
and you're fucking talking about tough. Come on, grow sack and let them drop.
Love letter, and I'm addressing it to specifically my mother, right? That sounds so weird out of context, but that's the point, right? I'm addressing it to that specific audience, right? But come on, I really do appreciate that. I'm going to think about that and see if there's other ways like I can, or other situations where like the audience doesn't necessarily matter like that. But I really do appreciate that. That's a really, really good point.
I feel like in so many aspects.
I would say 99.99% of the times, you need to make sure you're addressing your audience, whether it's one person or a lot of people. And that's why I appreciate you all communicating, right? Because you, like I said, I don't know everything, right? You can bring up some really great points. Are there any questions?
I don't necessarily feel like the audience directing them.
Wonderful, because I need to go in the hyperdrive here. 10 minutes left.
Right. No, I'm saying so like you're bored. I'm saying you're bored and you have no life and you have no friends and you probably get no pussy. Or if you're a dude, or if you're a female, you get no dick because you're on here talking shit to me and I'm not talking shit to you until now. So come on, now that's what I'm saying.
Non-verbal cues.
Anything else?
Really good to show that you're listening. So
bye.
Someone says,
bye, Stormy Nights. Oh, because your shit. You're already letting me know what your life is like.
Shake your head and like acknowledge what they're saying. Asking someone questions.
Remember, negativity is something you're about. Right? You got Stormy Night. So
once again, showing you're present, you're actually listening and you care, right? Being clear, clarifying if someone misunderstood something, summarizing. So if you're saying a lot, just give them like the main few points at the end of what you're saying to kind of remind them, right? Showing empathy is a really, really great one, right?
See, I was trying to show you empathy. You get on my nerves.
You got fired. Someone says, you got fired. Listening, being present in the conversation.
But if no one's told you today, I love you, Stormy.
And what is being said to you.
Okay.
Non-verbal cues are really, really good to show that you're listening. So if someone says, they got fired, you make a facial expression, you show concern, right? Or when someone's talking to you, shake your head.
Does the storm clear up in the daytime or no?
Saying. Asking someone questions is really good. You got fired.
All right. Does it clear up after the Stormy Night? Is it
once again showing you're present? You're
rainbow in the daytime? Like what is it like?
Being clear, clarifying if someone misunderstood something, summarizing. So if you're saying a lot, just give them like the main few points at the end of what you're saying to kind of remind them, right? Showing empathy is a really, really great one, right? That's how you really build those relationships, right? Think about like your best friend, right? a lot of times you bond over, something terrible happens, right? And they kind of like, they're there for you, right? They're empathetic, and that's how you kind of, or vice versa,
God,
right? And that's how you build that bond, right?
Get on BetterHelp.
Yeah, so these are all good communication skills. Bad communication skills, right? One-way convos are just the absolute worst, especially in times where we're stressed or we're emotional of some sort, right? You're talking to someone and they're not listening to you, right? They're just waiting for their chance to speak, right? That's not fun, right? It's really annoying, right? You directive, right? And the word you. So the word
Facts,
you, right?
I know, but shit, we only live once.
I would say this is only in
nigga.
cases where it's very, it's kind of specific, right? But if you're in a tense situation, right, you want to avoid using the word you. Because what the word you does is it makes people defensive, right?
I'm working on it.
And so if something happens,
can I live?
And you say,
all right,
you
I'm
did
gonna stay
this,
dangerous.
Right?
All right,
it's your fault, right? The conflict at hand, right? The issue at hand gets thrown out the window, right? So let's say someone, dropped your dinner, right? If you say, you dropped my dinner, you consider it, you did this, right? The issue at hand, the dinner being replaced or fixed, that situation's gone. It's absolutely gone because
oh my God, it's still you.
It's not going to be defensive, right?
You're my
be
biggest
defensive
fan.
Instead of focusing on the situation, it's just going to be bickering back and forth at that point. So you want to avoid you directive. In a sense, not to say the word you is bad, right? But it's really risky, right? In a situation where it's already tense. Someone who only uses negatives as annoying, right? Bad, shows their bias because they're only looking for the negatives in you, right?
Right.
And then no one wants to hear negative things about themselves all the time, right?
Can you go somewhere? Can you go? Can you go?
Just not very productive, right? So you can have
okay, well, shit. Then why are you talking to your elders like that? You better respect your elders, though.
But just make sure you're also pointing out positives as well, and not only the negatives. Getting personal, that's kind of with the you directive, right? You don't want to if it's about a specific thing, right? If someone left the fridge door open and all the food spoiled, right? You don't want to immediately get personal unless it's like a friend, and that's a different conversation to have. But you don't want to flip off for that one situation and get personal.
Strip y'all
and
niggas
start,
out my motherfucking life because y'all some whack ass. Y'all whack.
And validating someone's feelings, right? If someone
y'all must be fired, y'all got degrees already.
People get fired every day. It's true, right? People do get fired every day, right? But it might not be the best thing to say that right now. It's not very helpful, right? It's not very productive to the situation, right? Yeah, so those are some bad communication skills. And once I don't. These are just things we need to be observant of, right? So just because we do things one time,
sticks and stones may break my bones, but words
bad
can never
communicator.
hurt me.
It's just we need to be
just try to be aware. You should know this. That shit don't bother me. It don't affect me. That's why I'm up here.
All right, so
that's why I'm right here. Still ain't come on now. Keep looking at it, bro.
Cool.
Go,
all right, so
go eat a cunt.
So what's going to happen for the 1.1
homework?
Thank you, Leslie.
Pleasure.
What's going to happen for the 1.1 homework is after every class on Mondays, right? If you notice here in the 1.1 assignment, there's no questions.
It's annoying me because that means ooh.
No questions. After we do the lecture on Mondays, I will upload the questions and I'll upload a recording of this video so you can do it. So this is going to be, if you go in on Monday mornings, you don't see anything, don't freak out, right? It'll be put up on Monday afternoons. So all good.
Hell no.
And
okay.
The cheat code to pass this class, always look at the rubric. Always look at the rubrics and tell you exactly what you need to do.
Thank you.
It says answer one building block.
Thank you for your reminder. I didn't
clearly define it and support with an example from class, right? Super simple. Always look at the rubric. And this goes for every single assignment. Always look at the rubric. So now we're going to look at the workbook. This is going to be due on Sunday with an example. Cheat code. This is going to be, if you go in on Monday mornings, you don't see anything, don't freak out, right? It'll be put up on Monday afternoons. So all good. And I would say the cheat code to pass this class, always look at the rubric. Always look at the rubrics and tell you exactly what you need to do, right? It says answer one building block, clearly define it, and
you're always going to get an A if you follow the rubric.
Super simple.
Right.
Always look at the rubric. And this goes for every single assignment. Always look at the rubric.
Dude,
so now we're going to look at the workbook.
Proof.
This is going to be due on Sunday, the 1.1 assignment due on Friday. So for I'm so sick of this, these videos.
Don't tell me that.
So what the workbook is going to do, it's always going to kind of go over things we talked about in class. And a lot of times it has little blurbs that, help explain things a little further. And a lot of times there's videos as well, right? So if you click here, a video is going to pop up, and there's one for each.
So the school can't get mad at me because I'm not showing you the game. So that's why y'all can't see it, because then I think that they would probably be like, whoa,
answer
hold
the
up.
following
Like,
questions, right?
nobody else is paying for this degree, so you don't need to show the world, but
right?
y'all just hear them. So.
And which one you think you're the weakest at, right?
But this gives you
and
some
if you
of
look
like
at the rubric,
insight
it's going
of
to say
like
you need at least 3 to 4 sentences for full credit, right? So make sure you get 3 to 4 sentences defining or explaining why you think you are the strongest.
What type of engineer
and the weakest at listening, right?
And
so
like
I would
what
say
all the
for
music
listening, I'm the
professionals
weakest,
know,
right?
Where you should start.
I think I have a short attention span. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have a short attention span.
Me too.
It is not for you all. I'm talking about like in like a normal conversation.
Yeah,
right?
me too though.
A short attention span, which makes it hard to sit and process, a lot of words at a time, right? But it's something I'm working on, right? Whereas people, building block, I think I'm the strongest at because I like to analyze, who I'm talking to, right? Think about, who they are and figure out the best ways that I can approach them and communicate effectively with them, right? Very simple. All right, so some new information here: informative communication versus persuasive communication, right? And so I've been using the word information a lot, right? So with every time we communicate, we are exchanging information, as you all said, right? Mm-hmm. But there's different purposes, right? There's different purposes here. We can have two different directives with our communication. We can try to inform people, or we can try to persuade people, right? So with informative communication, all we're doing is exchanging information just for the other person to have, right? Just to educate them, or just to provide information that, they might need, right? Persuasive communication takes it a step further. We're still giving them information, but we're doing that, right, to change their mind or to convince them to do something, right? So for example, for persuasive communication, you go to the car dealership. They say, this car is very fast. A lot of people are looking at it. It's going to sell very quick, right? The salesman is giving you information, but you guys got to ask yourself, why are they giving me this information, right? So they're trying to persuade you, right? They're trying to convince you to buy the car, right? They might be lying even, right? You never know, but the point is they're trying to convince you to do something, right? And so I want to do one example. I like to do 2 examples. One of these is kind of confusing. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna read this real quick, and you guys are gonna tell me if it's informative or persuasive. You don't have to explain why right now, but in the homework you have to explain why. But for right now, just tell me if it's informative or persuasive. All right. So a lawyer is delivering closing arguments for a murder trial in front of a judge and jury. The lawyer presents the facts to prove his client's innocence, sharing in detail to the judge and jury that the glove doesn't fit. The lawyer says that the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. Do we believe this is informative or persuasive?
Persuasive.
Persuasive.
Agreed, persuasive. Exactly, right? The lawyer's giving all this information, but they're giving it because they want the not guilty verdict, right? Very, very good job, Leslie. All right. This is another thing. For informative communication, a lot of times it's going to be like statistics and things like that. Like it's going to be based on like facts and numbers, right? So keep in mind on that. All right. So scenario 3, the local government issues a hurricane evacuation warning. Alerts reach each cellular device, providing details on the category, wind speed, and projected direction. Do we think this is informative or persuasive?
Informative.
Informative. Very, very good job. Yes, beautiful, right? So they're providing, details on the storm, the speed, the direction, right? Informative. It's like, when you get like a, what is it called? Like a severe weather alert, right? They're giving you just the information. They're not like necessarily like telling you, not trying to, convince you to do anything. It's just information so you can remain safe, right? Very, very good job. You too, James. I appreciate that. Yes, informative. All right. So we're going to move on to, I'm going to need let's say 7 more minutes of your time, and I promise I'll get you out of here. We're going to move into the discussion post. With the discussion post, what you're going to do is there's a few links here for a commercial. You're going to watch the commercial and you're going to talk about the audience, right? I really want to watch one, but I don't want to take too much of your time. So you're going to tell us which commercial did you choose. You're going to tell us was the audience type aimed at mass or niche, right? And so I'm going to explain mass or niche right now too. A niche audience is an audience with they have 1 or 2 interests, right? It's very, very
Catered.
common interests,
Very
right?
Tailored.
Versus mass, mass
Everybody.
audience is comprised of a ton of different types of people, right? So for example, let's say is Coca-Cola here? Yeah, Coca-Cola's here. I'm trying to think about it. Mass is usually the really, really big
Coca-Cola's
brands,
gonna be
right?
some mass.
The Nike,
Everybody
the
drink Coke.
Apples, like those global brands like Adidas, right? Those global brands, right? So for something like Adidas, let's say Nike, for example. So many different people wear Nike, right? Women, men, athletes. They have like, office apparel. They have polo shirts, right?
But it's more like niche, I would think.
They have style, like there's streetwear, just casually, right? So many different people wear Nike, right? Versus something like, let's say,
oh yeah, but it's still.
I want to give answers for the homework, but like, let's say like a pet commercial, right?
Oh, look, what did I do?
People who have pets are, that's their common interest, right? They own pets, right? It's a very, very tight niche group, right? People who knit, right? People who read books, right? People who jog, right? It's very tight knit.
Take it back. Hold on.
Right? I want to give anywhere just casually, right? So many different people wear Nike, right? Versus something like, let's say,
a lot of people wear Nike. Okay, well,
I want to give answers for the homework, but like
I feel like it's more tailored. Right? Oh yeah, because not everybody that wears Nike.
Pets
Adidas
that's their
is like
common interest, right?
But
they own pets, right? It's a very, very tight niche group, right? People who knit, right? People who read books, right? People who jog, right? It's very tight knit. Like that's their one pretty much common interest, right? Keep in mind, women and men can read books, right? And old people and young people can read books, right? But it's like it's very, very small compared to like thousands of different type of people wear Nike, thousands of different people use Apple products, writers, students, teachers, children, right? Play games on it, right? So many different people. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Mass is thousands of different type of people.
More people.
Niche is like one or two. It's smaller, right? People who own pets, right? People who play chess, right?
That's very statistical.
Keep in mind, a niche audience can still have millions of people.
That's what I'm saying.
Right? Yeah, just because it's niche doesn't mean it's like one or two people. It can still be millions of people, right?
But it's more selective.
Mass is really massive, like those big brands, right? That incorporate so many different types of people. So you're gonna tell us what was the audience type, mass or niche, and you're gonna tell us 3 things that the audience might be interested in, or the characteristics, like what are the age, what are the interests, where do they live, maybe their gender, maybe their religion, right? So tell us 3 things that describe the audience. And I really want to watch one. I'll do like a really quick one because I think it's important for us to see how this looks.
You know what kind you want?
I want a shape like a heart.
Like a heart? Who's this for? Oh, okay. I'll get the measuring cup and we'll get started. That.
And I don't see anything. I'm just hearing it as well. So,
okay, right?
Just to give you guys some context.
So, does she know you like her?
I guess.
Your daddies.
I think this is for Valentine's Day. Maybe pubics. This is what I would think.
Watch this.
List. Or Publix. Publix. I said Publix.
I know, that's what it is.
Okay, you better hurry up. I'm going to pick you up outside right at 3:00. Bye. Oh, wait, you forgot your cake.
Where shopping is a pleasure.
Okay, so I'll also say that I'm not going to necessarily say like, no, wrong, that's niche, or wrong, that's mass, right? As long as you can justify it and bring back into it, because I think there's a lot of context to it.
Yeah.
I will award credit. Just make sure you're actually, backing up and justifying it, because for whether it's mass or niche, and for the 3 characteristics, you need to use commercial examples and actually justify why you think. So just based on that, what do you think for that? Do you all think it's niche or mass?
Mass.
We can wrap this up soon.
I think it's mass.
And if you want to answer, that's fine. You can just think about it. Angelique says mass. See, I can see. So I hate to be that guy. I can see an argument for either one. Or Leslie, you have something to say?
I said niche.
Niche. I would lean towards niche, right?
Because it is for Valentine's Day.
Can you give like a quick example why?
It is
because it was personal. It was for someone either. Well, turned out to be for his mom, which was really cute.
But everybody has kids.
you know,
Everybody has
still
family,
personal.
you know?
Yeah. I would say, and so Angelique, I'm not mad at you. That's what I'm saying, like, you know,
He just wants to hear our answers.
justifying is important, right? Because I don't think it's fair for me to say, you know, you're wrong for that. Mass because of the tagline at the end, yeah, we're shopping as a pleasure. Is that what you're talking about? Because everyone shops, right? So I would lean towards niche because they focus so much on the mom, right? And I would say that this is aimed towards like the
seasoned. It was like Valentine's
like
Day.
the 30s something like parent, right? Who has like a close relationship with their kid.
No,
right?
that's over. Like, I
and
think
like
that
that's like
was
the age where
doing,
like the kids kind of like separate from their parents a little bit, right? They become like a little bit more independent. So I think they were specifically in this commercial at least aiming for like that kind of feeling, right? And it worked, right? Because that's such like an emotional commercial, right? And it's something a lot of us can relate to because going
I don't know.
up,
I just feel like guessing like that
separated
woman was 30 years old versus like from just hearing her, like, oh, I think she's 30 years old and she's like, that's not niche. I think maybe what they were talking about, it was like it was like a Valentine's Day
mother or
commercial,
father and child relationship there, right? That I would say it's more niche, but I do understand the argument for mass because it is, right, a supermarket, right?
Shopping.
I would also say it's niche because like Publix is just located in the Southeast. I think it's starting to go higher, right? So Southeast of America is kind of niche, right?
Yeah, and we were
but as long as you make an argument, it's fine.
And
but
then
for,
like
let's
the assignment
say,
is to give you details about the audience, so you would really have to know
details. I would say, like I said, young 30s, mid 30s, parent with a kid in their the 8 to 10 range. I would also say a parent who's very involved in their kids' lives, right? Like soccer practice, takes them to school. She drove them to school, take them to school. People like to bake, right? I would say
so it totally was niche just because it was like of the
4 or
baking
5
thing
there.
too,
But those are defining characteristics there. All right, so after you get your initial post in with all that, you're gonna say which commercial you chose, mass or niche with 3 examples of why, 3 characteristics, and tell us why you think those 3 characteristics are accurate. You're gonna respond to your classmates by Sunday. Remember, if you don't post by Wednesday, you can't respond by Sunday, and the assignments are gonna be a 0, unfortunately. Last thing, I promise you, you're out of here. All right, is the project. This project is pretty simple for the most part. What you're going to do is
hold up
the characteristics and tell us why you think those 3 characteristics. Last thing, and I promise you, you're out of here. All right, is the project. Class meets by Sunday. Remember, if you don't post by Wednesday, you can't respond by Sunday, and the assignments are going to be a 0, unfortunately. Last thing, and I promise you, you're out of here. All right, is the project. This project is pretty simple for the most part. What you're going to do is you're going to review a crowdfunding campaign. So you're going to be clicking on one of these 3 sites here. Do not, I can't stress enough, do not do a analysis on the whole site with crowdfunding campaign. So you're going to be clicking on one of these 3 sites here. Do not, I can't stress enough, do not do a analysis on the whole site. What you're going to do is you're going to find a specific campaign, and you're going to analyze that specific campaign. I would suggest you do one with a good amount of information. This one is not a ton of information, so it's hard to answer the questions. Let's try this. Oh, some of these are really sad. Oh my gosh, some of these are really sad.
Oh my god.
You ready?
This one,
oh my
gosh, we're going on GoFundMe and looking at like how. All
right, so this is a good amount of information. This is a good amount of information. All right. So the question you need to answer
we have to go find one and evaluate it.
What is the title of the crowdfunding campaign and who created it? As a matter of fact, let me show you just the example of it, right? So what's the title and who created it? You got to answer that. So they said, help our shelter stay open by Andy Greenwald, right? Who's it by? It says, explain the campaign's goals, so its purpose. What are they going to be?
Did I do that? No. What happened? something happened. But internally, I can figure why that could happen because, yeah, well, that's good that happened because maybe I can't give you all this disinformation because, I would be kind of upset if I knew that people were evaluating my GoFundMe account. Anyways, that's the first day of school. Yeah, it totally was a targeted audience. So niche, definitely. I like you. You're one of them. You're JT. Boop boop. Stay tuned, because hopefully, if I don't get told something about it, about what I'm doing, then I'm gonna totally do it. But if somebody tells me something, then totally can't do it. So yeah, that was the first day of class. Now I gotta go do the work. Yeah. All right. Bye.